10 rando Magic cards rated, day number 84. How's your Tuesday, everybody? I know you just want to look at cards. You don't want to talk. You just let's talk about cards, Deb. We got to look at a Portal 3 Kingdoms card here. It's Misfortune's Gain, 4 mana, 3 and a white for a sorcery. Destroy any one creature. Creature's owner gains 4 life. It's pretty bad. I'm sitting here wondering, like, how can a 3 Kingdoms card be less than $1? I don't know if it's this bad. It's really bad, man. Even for a removal spell, it's just kind of sorcery speed. I mean, I think a lot of things from everything from any Portal set is a sorcery. There's no instance. That's terrible. 1.1. It's kind of uniquely bad. I guess it destroys any creature, right? So like 1.3. So it's going to be better than a lot of like dinky, crappy creatures, I guess. And it destroys any, I mean, come on, guys. It does destroy any one creature at all. It even says that. Any one creature. It's good. We'll move on to Brainstorm. We have covered Brainstorm before. I'm not going to cover it again, but Brainstorm is very good. I think we gave it like an 8.5 or something like that. It's that good, man. Petrifying Meddler from MH3. This is 5 mana, 4 and a blue for a 4/5 Eldrazi with Devoid and Reach. When you cast this spell, tap up to 1 target creature and put you a stun counter on it, baby. So that's kind of neat. It's a colorless card, which was given a keyword when Devoid came out. It's got Reach, which was given a keyword, I don't know, like 8 years ago or something. And, well, actually, after that, it was like 6 years ago. And it's got stun counters, which became a thing like last year. So that's cute. This has like 3 really old mechanics that have all received like keywords in the last few years. So kind of adorable in that function. But aside from that, it's just 5 mana, 4/5 Reach, put a stun counter on a thing. At least you get it on cast trigger, I guess. Maybe you'll play it in limited Eldrazi deck from time to time. But it's just like a 3.2 or something. It's actually not the worst creature in the world, but you're not going to play it in your deck. You're not going to do that. Luca, Bound to Ruin. Let's get a normal looking one over here. This is 2, a red, a green, and then a Phyrexian red or green hybrid. So you can pay red, green, or 2 life for that mana symbol. 5 loyalty, but that said, if you opted to pay the 2 life, he instead comes into play with 3 loyalty. That's how these work. +1, add red, green. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. -1, create a 3/3 green Phyrexian beast creature token with Toxic 1. And for -4, Luca deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers, X being the greatest power among creatures you control as you activated this ability. So that is so many words just to say like +1 ramp, -1 3/3, -4 deals some damage, which is solid. It just is a solid planeswalker. Hasn't seen any play in standard. And I honestly don't really envision it seeing any play in standard, which is sad because, again, it is solid. It's not bad. It's really not terrible at all. As far as planeswalkers go, I think that it's more than halfway decent, right? So if I play it on 4 and then play a land on 5, plus it, Atraxa, you know what I mean? Like 7 mana, Vaultborn Tyrant or something. Actually seems like a pretty awesome bridge into a card like Vaultborn Tyrant. Honestly, just play a couple of creatures before Luca, then play Luca on like 3 or 4, and then Vaultborn the next turn. I mean, that doesn't seem that hard. That's all I'm saying. Every time I look at this card, I'm like, man, this sees no play. Like, at all. No play? More than... Not even... It sees no play like Yo play. We're a Danon house. We're a Gogurt house, actually. But in any case... I have to give Luca like a 5.2. I just really think this is a solid planeswalker. And it sucks that he hasn't really done much in standard, but maybe he's still got time. You know, he's still got like a year or whatever. Maybe it'll happen. But we'll look at Get to Encampment next. This is originally printed in Urza's Legacy. This is a land that comes into play tapped, and you can tap it for a red mana. You can also pay 1 and a red and have it become a 2/1 red creature with first strike till end of turn. That is still... It still counts as a land. They had to tell you that back then. This is the first cycle of man lands, creature lands, dude lands, land boys. I don't know. I don't know what you want to call these. A lot of people call them a lot of things. I just mostly call them creature lands. This was good back in the day, but we actually didn't play a 4 of in mono red. Back in the day, we played a 2 of because this comes into play tapped, and you don't necessarily want that. So you didn't always see the 4 of, but still, all of these saw a lot of play, especially Fairy Conclave, which probably saw the most. And then Treetop Village, and then The black one, it may for 2 mana you get a 1/1 regenerate. But all of these were good and played. Even the white one, which gives you like a 1/5. He's blocked with it. I have to give creature lands, especially the original cycle of creature lands. These are still pretty decent. Like 6.5. I think, again, you can never underestimate a creature land. These are always very, very good. Man lands are sort of legendary for a reason. They started printing a bunch of them for a reason. These were very successful because they're great. They're just really, really good. We'll move on to Infectious Horror here. Originally printed in Conflux. This is 4 mana, 3 and a black for a 2/2 zombie horror. And whenever it attacks, each opponent loses 2 life. It's pretty bad. Except for the Pete Venters art. This is just awful. I guess it's a zombie too, but the art makes me want to give it like an extra 0.5 point, but I'm not going to do it. This is just like a 2.2. We don't love 4 mana 2/2s in this household. But we'll move on to a Battle Mastery here. Originally printed in Lorwyn. This is a 3 mana, 2 and a white for an aura that enchants a creature. The enchanted creature has double strike. I tried to, kind of corkscrew this into a couple of decks back in the day, but it's just bad. Auras are typically not great unless they cost 1 or 2 or have some sort of built-in hexproof or they draw a card or like something like that. This costs too much, hard to land on a creature, and, if it had flash or something maybe, but no, it seems good. Seems okay in your like auras deck and commander, but it's a little baseline, a lot more baseline than it looks, So I'm going to give this a 3.9. And that's actually a bit higher than I want to give it. And that's because double strike is just such a good ability. If you can actually land this and then protect the creature, then yeah, you're having a good time. Double strike is very good, but I just don't trust expensive auras. I just don't. Predatory Advantage is next. Only ever printed in Alara Reborn. Still worth about 40 cents. This is 5 mana, 3 a red and a green for an enchantment. At the end of each opponent's turn, if that player didn't play a creature spell this turn, you get a 2/2 lizard creature token. Okay, so that's neat in certain commander pods. Even against some decks, they want to play creatures, but just like didn't draw one that turn or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's also, what is it? If they didn't cast a creature spell is the Oracle text, right? So even if they get tokens or something, it's not going to count. That's kind of neat. They have to specifically cast a creature. So this can put 6 power and toughness into play every turn cycle, but it's probably only going to put like 2 to 4. I would say 2.5 power and toughness on average, or like 3 power and toughness on average per turn cycle. I don't know. I kind of like this, but you can't really rely on it either. So I can't give it really much more than like a 5.1. And I'm really just giving it a 5.1 because I kind of like it. It's probably like right out of 5, but I don't know. I think this is probably going to put a fair amount of power and toughness into play, and like your Beast Whisperers drawing cards and stuff. Or is that cast a creature spell or enters the battlefield? I can't remember now. But yeah, stuff that triggers when a creature enters play triggers, and that's pretty gross too. Terror of the Peaks and Pandemonium effects and stuff. Let's go. So I like the card. I think it's cool. In case you haven't been able to tell, I have not seen this card. I played during Alara Reborn a little bit. I was taking a little bit of a break during some of this, but I remember a lot of Alara Reborn. I don't remember this card. It's actually pretty cool. But our Millery Sphere is up next. This is, or Sphere rather. This is 2 mana for an artifact, 2 tap sacrifices, search your library for 2 basics, reveal them, put them in your hand. I believe that we have covered this card before, if I'm not mistaken. So Ravenous Baloth is up next. This is a cool card, man. Originally printed in Onslaught. This is 4 mana, 2 and 2 green for a 4/4 beast. Sack a beast, gain 4 life. Cool. Pretty cool, actually. This card saw a fair amount of play, like way back in the day in sort of the beast deck, but back then a 4 mana 4/4 was not necessarily unheard of, obviously, but it was still a very good rate. It's not necessarily anymore. We see common 4 mana 4/4s, but not as often back then, and it used to sack itself, sack itself, gain 4 life, and that's pretty cool a lot of the time too. Just make a block, sack it, whatever. So this used to be a great card. I'm not sure that it is anymore, but in commander decks that play a lot of beasts, you probably still want the card, So I'm gonna give Ravenous Baloth the. Have I already given the honorary 5? Was today Shivan Dragon? I think it may have been, but this is a 5. It kind of is, isn't it? It just is a 5, actually. A 4 mana 4/4, sack itself, gain 4 plus extra value if you happen to have other beasts. Like, yeah, it's like a 5. That's like right out of 5 anyway. I don't have to give it the honorary. It's all right. Halcyon Emerald Arc Druid is up next. I've never seen this card either. Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. This is 4 mana, 3 and a green for a 2/4 legendary elf druid. Pay 1 mana until end of turn. A token you control becomes a green bear creature with base PT 4/4 in addition to its other colors and types. Choose a background. You can have a background as a second commander. My pod, when we do play, actually allows backgrounds for anybody. You don't have to have a commander that says choose a background. You just can choose a background. And this is under review of the group. We want to know what your backgrounds are and who your commander is and all that. And then we'll kind of decide whether or not that's too powerful as a group. But for the most part, we just let anybody use any background regardless of their commander and whether or not the commander says choose a background. That said, in the context of like how most people play commander, this is kind of okay, man. 4 mana 2/4 is not great. This is an uncommon commander, and it's not like amazing or anything, but just 1 mana. Just 1 mana, that means you can turn like 3, 4, 5, 6 tokens into 4/4s every turn. And that's pretty sweet, especially if you have other ways of increasing their PT, right? Their base PT is going to be 4/4. But if you make a 1/1 token into a 4/4 and it has a bunch of +1/+1 counters and anthem effects and things are getting serious, I don't know. I think he's cool. I don't think he's like amazing. I think he's a fun commander build around though. And he's very handsome too. I want to point that out. He's got the right creature type too, elf. So there are things I like about him. And overall, I'm going to give him a 5.2. I'm going to go that far with him. Again, if I have to explain myself one more time, probably thousands more before the end of the series, being unique in what you do as a commander will take you a long way in a series where I'm basically rating for casual commander. And not a whole lot of commanders like this, so I like the guy. But we'll move on to final card of the day here. Mage Ring Responder, only printed in Magic Origins. This is 7 mana for a 7/7 Golem. It's an artifact creature that doesn't untap during your untap step, but if you pay 7 mana, you can untap it. Whenever it attacks, it deals 7 damage to target creature defending player controls. I kind of remember you from Origins. We were doing spoiler content for Origins, but this guy almost entirely has passed my mind at this point, but he's in there a little. There's a remnant of this dude in there knocking around. Not a great card, obviously. If you can make all the mana in the world, I guess you can untap him, right? But so who cares? I guess he gets 1 attack step. It's not like he comes into play tapped, right? He gets 1 attack step where he can blow something away, and he probably will. So he's kind of neat, and I bet he might pop up in like oops all colorless commander decks from time to time as like a form of removal or whatever, but he's not too impressive. I'm just going to give him a 4.6, which is fairly low, but it's actually fairly high for a card like this. I think I've given better cards like a 3.5, but I don't know. He's neat. And I like neat Magic cards. That's part of the point of the series too. When we hit 100 days, I think I'm going to do either like a 5-minute intro to one of these or just its own separate video where I talk about the actual reasons for this video. I see people in the comments section who think there's like this series is kind of pointless. And I see a lot of other people who really enjoy this series. Thank you if you're still watching it, all that. I appreciate that. And I think that's one of the big points of the series is just that people enjoy it. I enjoy it. That's a point right there. But I think there are like several points to a series like this. The most important one being finding, cool commander cards that I and a bunch of other people may not have known existed in the first place. There's a lot of points to this series. I will flesh them out a little bit more, I think, in their own video once we hit 100. But we're really close to that, guys. Tomorrow's day 85. So thanks for sticking with the series this far, and I will see y'all tomorrow morning. Bye, everybody.